The human body, a device made for surviving, what they need for life is warmth. Alongside clothes, one way to get warmth is fire. So, humans like fire. As an unintended consequence of the survival mechanism, humans like explosions. We like them in our skies and in our media. We even make compilations of only explosions from media to awesome Tchaikovsky music. And we use explosions to power our cars. But one other thing that human bodies are made for is fending off hostile animals. We are not made for fending off explosives. But then again, humans like explosions. So there are a lot of explosives in history, from fun fireworks that blow up over cities and awesome demolitions and rock blasting, to horrific bombs in cities and unfortunate tank blasting. But these are pedestrian matters. Let's jump into a very interesting explosion story. First off, imagine that it is September the 13th, 1848. Potato harvests have failed all over Europe. Ireland is in the grips of famine. A tide of revolution and change is coursing over Europe. The French have overthrown their monarchy and founded a second republic. Hungary is fighting an, at this point unknown, doomed War of Independence, and the modern German, Italian, Ukrainian, Romanian national identities and flags, also the modern Irish flag, were born, although definitions were still a little bit off by modern standards. In America, the Mexican-American War had just ended, granting America land all the way to California, heightening tensions between slave and abolitionist states. Exciting times. But Phineas Gage didn't care. He had a job to do. He was a foreman and worked on railroad construction in northeastern United States, including explosives, namely blowing up rocks to make way for railroads, pedestrian, but not for long, as on this day, Phineas Gage was working with a tamping iron to pack gunpowder into rocks, then pack sand and clay, or tamping, over the gunpowder, so that the power of the kaboom would go into the rock instead of just exploding harmlessly against the rock, then light a fuse to blow the rock to gravel at a safe distance. He was on the Rutland Railroad, just south of the village of Cavendish, Vermont. It was 4:30 p.m. Gage was packing the gunpowder and was looking at one of his coworkers. Unknowingly positioned his head at above the tamping iron, and the hole full of gunpowder. He was about to speak to one of his coworkers, and then it happened. The gunpowder exploded, sending the tamping iron through his jaw, behind his left eye, through his brain, and out his forehead, before now freshly covered in blood and head stuff I won't draw, landing 80 feet, or 25 meters, away, fortunately not impaling someone. Gage was knocked onto his back by the force of getting a meter-long metal stick yeeted through his head and convulsed, but survived. He was able to speak within minutes, surprisingly. Having common sense, his coworkers rushed him via ox cart to a doctor's office in Cavendish. Here, Gage was soon met by two doctors, a friend named John Martin Harlow and Dr. Edward H. Williams. According to Williams, Gage, whilst actively having nausea, a symptom of nervous damage, and his brain visible through both holes in his head, simply casually, if weakly, told Williams, "Doctor, here is enough business for you." After surgery to clean up the hole in his head, Gage was bandaged up, with a nightcap secured to make sure the top of his bandages didn't fall off. Unfortunately, his condition deteriorated over the day. His mom and uncle came from Lebanon, New Hampshire. He went delirious, for obvious brain damage reasons, but recovered, only to become semi-comatose, only not getting spoken to with short, monosyllabic responses. His death was expected to be within the hour at all times. Nonetheless, Harlow took action, cutting fungus from Gage's wounds and applying silver nitrate to clean the wounds, though his left eye was basically destroyed. Eventually, Gage got better. By a month after the incident, he was able to walk about the house he was being kept in, and kept recovering, miraculously. By November, he, although weak, could return to his parents' home in Lebanon, New Hampshire, and by February of 1849, he could work around the barn, feeding animals. Of course, losing a chunk of your brain would change you. Gage was originally seen as an upstanding man. His personality changed for a while, becoming a vagrant and cussing like a sailor, but he did get control of these violent urges. In 1849, Henry J. Bigelow, professor of surgery at Harvard, evaluated Gage's story to be true and brought him before a meeting of the Boston Society for Medical Improvement, who were, of course, very interested in his strange case. But scientists weren't the only smart folk who were interested in someone surviving getting a metal pulled through his head. Street smart swindlers saw the value too, namely, another person named Phineas. You know him, whether from scandals or whitewashing an awesome musical about him. It's P.T. Barnum. Barnum offered Gage a job at his Museum of Oddities in New York City, where Gage would essentially be a living exhibit, alongside animals and other people with oddities, many hoaxes, and random knickknacks. We have no records of what the recruitment was like, but here's how I imagined it. Hey, it's my man Phineas Gage! Hey, how you doing, buddy? My left eye doesn't exist anymore and personality changed. Also, what's up with the stereotypical fake I'm walking near New York accent? Are you from Connecticut? Just showbiz, Sonny. Speaking of which, I see you got a tamping iron blasted through your skull, right? You can see the surgery scars and the fact I can't open my left eye. Very well. In that case, I have a job proposal for you. You can't sit here eating Canadian food forever. How about I offer you a job in a museum down in the big city of New York? Why would I go all the way down to New York to what? Pose the temping iron to get you money? Exactly. And you won't be lonely. We've got a bearded Swiss lady. A short dude is so famous he has met Queen Victoria. A Del Scott's met a Minotaur Arab. The two dudes are the reason why people call conjoined twins and Siamese twins. A mermaid. I have brain damage, and I know that mermaid is obviously a mummified monkey stitched to a fish's butt. Fine, I am a con man, I admit it, but I'm a popular one, and all those other people I mentioned are real, even the bearded lady. Look it up. No, I will not be a carny. One, ouch, I don't start the circus until 1871 in the future, and two, your brain damage means you can't get a job with your old railroad company. Fine, I'll get my tamping iron.
Yes!
Phineas Gage took the job, and for an unknown time, worked as a living exhibit at P.T. Barnum's museum. Eventually, he quit. Although advertisements have been found, apparently by Gage himself, advertising appearances of Phineas Gage, this matches up with Harlow's writings that Gage did indeed make many appearances in New England towns. However, later in his life, presumably deciding they didn't like being shown around, and apparently also bored of America, moved down south to frickin' Chile of all places. Phineas Gage worked in Chile in the towns of Valparaiso and the capital city, Santiago, as a stagecoach driver. Unfortunately, Phineas Gage began to have seizures, so he moved back with his mother, who at this point moved to San Francisco. He became a farmhand in Santa Clara County. The Bay Area was more agrarian back then. He sadly passed away due to a seizure in 1860. He was only 36. Phineas Gage was buried at the Laurel Hill Cemetery at the Lone Mountain Cemetery Complex in San Francisco. But then his skull was exhumed and taken with his tamping iron to the Warren Medical Museum and the Boston Medical Library, where both remain today. As for Gage's headless body, in 1940, when San Francisco started to move its cemeteries to the town of Colma, the headless body was moved to Cypress Lawn Memorial Park, where it remains today. So that was the story of Phineas Gage, who proved that the human body is tougher than it seems. His case also set the groundwork for much of modern medical research into the brain. And although it was sad he died so young, it also has a slight mercy that he died before he could see America tear itself apart in civil war. This was Paraewie. Bye!